Alexander Volkanovski, he has proven himself once again, but this time it was different. This time it was 100% Volkanovski from start to finish. This was a wire-to-wire victory, and this is another case of should the corner throw in the towel and not let their fighter go out on their shield. Now, there's mixed opinions about that, clearly, right? This is the fight game after all, but let us not forget that the Korean Zombie, he has suffered a lot of damage over the course of his career. The man has been fighting for a very, very long time. I think that when Chan Sung Jung got his first title shot against Jose Aldo, Alexander Volkanovski had been in, like, he had started MMA like 1 year later, or he had only been in MMA for 1 year. So clearly there's a difference between the amount of damage taken between these two. Brother, how did Chan Sung Jung do in your opinion? Is this a fighter who is kind of sliding, falling, hitting the twilight of his career, or is Volkanovski just that good?
A little bit of both, because Volkanovski is an amazing fighter. A lot of credit to him, and he had to put the moves in place to be able to do the damage that he was doing against Chan Sung Jung. But at the same point, the style of Jung, really, to me, this is a fight that proves that you can't be having that marauder style for years and years and years and continue to hope to find success by letting people be the Homer Simpson of the UFC, as I think as James Vick once said. But either way, you can't just be taking shots to the face and expect, okay, this dude's going to tire himself out by punching me in the face, and I'm going to will of attrition him all the way through and just keep it going, winning that route. It just can't be done. So as much as Volkanovski is an amazing fighter and very, very talented, especially in the ground game or the hands and feet and all that, I think he was just fighting the perfect opponent to be able to highlight his reel. You know what I'm saying? Highlight the aspects that he's really, really good at, not have to worry about takedowns, submissions, or anything like that. He's really the one pushing the gas the entire time, taking in control, and then Korean Zombie's just sitting there, very little head movement, getting battered up the entire time, and then goes back to his corner and says, yeah, I'm good to go. I can keep fighting. So as a trainer, as a coach, it's hard to be like, okay, well, I mean, you're getting your ass whooped, bro. But if you're good to fight, like, I've seen you handle worse, so I should let you go. But at the same point, I know I shouldn't, because you can't win this fight. It's hard. It's hard. What do you think?
I'm in absolute agreement with you and consensus with you right there, brother. I think that the Korean Zombie, I mean, people forget he earned his nickname because he is the zombie who takes damage, who just keeps walking forward, who doesn't stop. But when you're going against the highest caliber of opposition in your weight class, like Alexander Volkanovski, to me, this is kind of like Max Holloway, right? Max Holloway did get a little exposed because Volkanovski said, well, I know exactly how to beat you. You're coming out, you're doing the same style, you're walking forward, you're being that warrior. I'm going to exploit that because I don't have that same ego. I don't have that same desire to want to fight this one stylistic way. Instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop you up. I'm going to move around, right? The big key right here, brother, is that Volkanovski normally comes out, throws a million leg kicks. Well, Chan Sung Jung is ready for the leg kicks. Now, instead, you're getting boxed up, right? So he's like, oh, I wasn't ready for the hands. I'm expecting the leg kicks. What does this say, AJ, about the Fight Ready Super Camp that has been so highly advertised prior to this fight? Obviously, they got the killers, right? You got the Yuri Prohashkas, John Jones. You got Triple Cringe over there that's, getting it in. He's coaching, man, doing a fantastic job with these fighters. Chan Sung Jung even said, hey, man, I'm actually a little scared that if I don't have my training camp at Fight Ready, I might not be prepared for any of my future fights. But then you just get smashed in 4 rounds by Volkanovski here. Obviously, adjustments need to be made. Clearly, what happens in camp isn't always going to translate to what happens in the octagon, but does this knock Fight Ready at all? Does this knock Henry Cejudo, who I feel like they were just all so confident, especially after Davison Figueiredo got the win over Brandon Moreno in their last fight? What do you think?
It knocks it a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, not so much. Only really in the fact that they can't be as boisterous to me anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like Henry was going on, man. He's still rocking the gold, the protector. The headgear, the protection unit. He's still rocking that. So it just maybe knocks it a little bit in the fact that you can't be that boisterous about going forward. I don't think Chan Sung Jung was at Fight Ready that long. I know he had an 8-week preparation for the camp, but if you're only there 8 weeks, you're not learning all there is to learn about wrestling and jiu-jitsu and all that stuff. So if he's there for a short time, I think really in the fight, he just reverted back to what he knew. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't knock Fight Ready as much as possible to me, but a little bit of shade being thrown. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. I mean, clearly it's not up to par with the camp that Volkanovski's having. But either way, man, it was a fun fight. It was not very competitive. To me, in a weird way, AJ, and I don't even want to say this, but this fight, given the placement on the card, the last bout of the night, this felt the most inconsequential. You know what I mean? It felt like there was nothing really on the line, even though the title was on the line. I mean, Volkanovski was in such control. I was like, all right, this is more or less of a meaningless fight. Now, in the grand scheme of things, in revisionist history, years down the road, how are we going to view this demolition win over the Korean Zombie in maybe 6 years, 8 years? You know what I mean? Like when you see Holloway destroyed all these people, when he beat Jose Aldo multiple times and all that good stuff, right? I mean, Volkanovski's his fight against Brian Ortega, I think that proved a lot more to the fans about what kind of fighter he is. His 2 fights with Max Holloway proved that. This fight, though, even though it was the most dominant, where is this going in the history books in terms of his memoriam, his career history? What do you think?
Yeah, no disrespect here, Derek, but I think this one's gonna get forgotten about.
Oh,
This one's
sheesh.
gonna be one of those ones where it's like, oh yeah, he did fight Chan Sung Jung, huh? Yeah, he put him out. But there's just so many other fights that he's had, like you said, the Brian Ortega. That one's gonna be one of his most memorable fights. The back and forth with Holloway, whether you think he won or he lost. I think those are gonna be always be talking points of Volkanovski's career. But like I said, no disrespect to either of these fighters. I just feel like this is one of those ones that stylistically was set up so well that a lot of people are going to forget about that. I mean, and there's so many fights that, a lot of people are going to forget about a lot of people's fights. But this one in particular to me didn't hold up to the caliber of fighters that these two are normally are. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it flew a little under the radar for me. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with you. I don't want to necessarily say forgotten because, like I said, this was his first finish since 2018, so it's got to hold some type of some caliber of merit right there. You know what I mean? People are going to remember it for that reason. This was the most dominant we've ever seen Alexander Volkanovski. But then again, tailor-made matchup, man, and matchups. Our styles make fights. That's what it comes down to. Big win by Alexander Volkanovski, and we'll talk a little bit later. But we'll see if he moves up to 155 pounds or if he fights Holloway. That's going to be big news right there.